We are going to look into the methods of training. A multitude of methods of training are used to train employees. The most commonly used methods are categorized into two groups: on the job and off the job methods. On the job methods refer to methods that are applied in the workplace while the employee is actually working. Off the job methods are used away from workplaces. Training techniques represent the medium of imparting skills and knowledge to the employees. Obviously, training techniques are the means employed in the training methods. Amongst the most commonly used techniques are lectures, films, audio cassettes, case studies, role playing, videotapes, and simulations. Uh, at this point, it is worthwhile to elaborate on important techniques of training. Um, Following lectures, audiovisuals, on the job training, programmed instruction, computer aided instruction, simulation, and sensitive training will be explained through this. Lecture is a verbal presentation of information by an instructor to a large audience. The lecturer is presumed to possess a considerable depth of knowledge of the subject at hand. A virtue of this method is that it can be used for very large groups and hence the cost per trainee is low. This method is mainly used in colleges and universities, though its application is restricted in training factory employees. Limitations of the lecture method account for its low popularity. The method violates the principles of learning by practice. It constitutes a one way communication. There is no feedback from the audience. Continued lecturing is likely to bore the audience. To break the boredom, the lecturer often resorts to anecdotes, jokes, and other attention getters. This activity may eventually overshadow the real purpose of the instruction. However, the lecture method can be made effective if it is combined with other methods of training. Audiovisuals include television slides, overheads, videotapes, and films. These can be used to provide a wide range of realistic examples of job conditions and situations in the condensed period of time. Further, the quality of the presentation can be controlled and will remain equal for all training groups. But audiovisuals constitute a one way system of communication with no scope for the audience to raise doubts for clarification. Further, there is no flexibility of presentation from audience to audience. On the job training, majority of the individual industrial training is on the job training type. The on the job training is conducted at the work site and in the context of the job. Often it is informal, as and when an experienced worker shows a trainee how to perform the job task. Advantages are that it is the most effective method as trainee learns by experience, making him or highly competent. Further, the method is the least expensive since no formal training is organized. The trainee is highly motivated to learn since he or she is aware of the fact that his or her success on the job depends on the training received. Finally, the training is free from an artificial situation of a classroom. This contributes to the effectiveness of the program. On the job training suffers from certain demerits as well. The experienced employee may lack expertise or inclination to train the juniors. The training program itself is not systematically organized. In addition, a poorly conducted on the job training program is likely to create safety hazards, result in damage to products or materials, and bring unnecessary stress to the trainees. Programmed instruction is a method where training is offered without the intervention of a trainer. Information is provided to the trainee in blocks, either in a book form or through a teaching machine. After reading each block of material, the learner must answer a question about it. Feedback in the form of correct answers is provided after each response. Thus, the programmed instruction involves presenting questions, facts, or problems to the learner, allowing the person to respond, providing feedback on the accuracy of his or her answers. If the answers are correct, the learner proceeds to the next block. If not, he or she repeats the same. The main advantage of the programmed instruction is that it is self-paced. Trainees can progress through the programs at their own speed. Strong motivation is provided to the learner to repeat learning. Material is also structured and self contained, offering much scope for practice. The disadvantages are not to be ignored. The scope for learning is less compared to other methods of training. Cost of preparing books, manual, and machinery is considerably high. Computer assisted instruction is an extension of the programmed instruction method. The speed, memory, and data manipulation capabilities of the computer permit greater utilization of basic programmed instruction concept. The computer assisted instruction is an improved system when compared to the programmed instruction method, at least in three respects. First, CAI provides for accountability as tests are taken on the computer so that the management can monitor each trainee's progress and needs. Second, computer assisted instruction training program can also be modified easily to reflect technological innovations in the equipment for which the employee is being trained. Third, this training also tends to be more flexible in that trainees can usually use the computer almost any time they want and thus get training when they prefer. Not to be ignored is the fact that feedback from computer assisted instruction is as rich and colorful as modern electronic games, complete with audio instructions and visual displays. A deterrent with regard to CAI is its high cost, but repeated use may justify the cost. A simulator is any kind of equipment or technique that duplicates as nearly as possible the actual conditions encountered on the job. Simulation then is an attempt to create a realistic decision making environment for the trainee. Simulations present likely problem situations and decision alternatives to the trainee. For example, activities of an organization may be simulated and the trainee may be asked to make a decision in support to those activities. The result of those decisions are reported back to the trainee with an explanation of what would have happened had they actually been made in the workplace. The trainee learns from this feedback and improves his or her subsequent simulation and workplace decision. The more widely held simulation exercises are case study, role playing, and vestibule learning. Case study is a written description of an actual situation in business which provokes in the reader the need to decide what is going on, what the situation really is, and or what the problems are and what can and should be done. Taken from the actual experiences of organization, these cases represent attempts to describe real problems that managers have faced. Role playing generally focuses on emotional issues rather than actual ones. The essence of role playing is to create realistic situation as in case study and then have the trainees assume the parts of specific personalities in the situation. Case study and role play are highly used in MDPs. Vestibule training utilizes equipment which closely resemble the actual ones used on the job. However, training take place away from the work environment. A special area or a room is set aside from the main production area and is equipped with furnishings similar to those found in the actual production area. The trainee is then permitted to learn under simulated conditions without disrupting ongoing operations. The advantages of the simulation opportunity to create an environment similar to real situations a manager incur, but without the high costs involved should the actions prove undesirable. The disadvantages are it is difficult to duplicate the pressures and realities of actual decision making on the job, and individuals often act differently in real life situations than they do in acting out simulated exercises. A primary advantage of vestibule training is that it relieves employees from the pressure of having to produce while learning. The emphasis is on learning skills required by the job. Of course, the cost of duplicate facilities and a special trainer is an obvious disadvantage. Sensitivity training uses a small number of trainees, usually fewer than 12 in a group. They meet with the passive trainer and gain insight into their own and others' behavior. Meetings have no agenda, are held away from the workplaces, and questions deal with the here and now of the group processes. Discussions focus on why participants behave as they do, how they perceive one another, and the feelings and emotions generated in the interaction process. Sensitivity training can go by a variety of names: laboratory training, encounter groups, or T groups, which is the training groups.